Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again. A simple man diagnosed with NPD, telling you about the stuff that goes on in my head and giving you the facts on narcissistic personality disorder. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. But keep in mind, I'm no clinician. I can only speak to my own experiences. Anyway, so I'm going to address a question that I get all of the time. And it's a question that I find understandable, but I think ultimately flawed in the nature of the thing. I'm also going to go into address like how I would be answering this if I did in the past. I'm just going to link this video every time somebody asks that, by the way. So, should I leave my narcissist? Good question. Should you? One, I don't know enough about your situation. Two, you're like, even if you described it in detail everything, I still don't get a full picture of it. But more importantly, I think by asking that question tells me more about your situation than anything else. If you're asking that question, you're either in an unhealthy or straight up abusive relationship. And if you are in either of those situations, viewing it through the context of pathology isn't doing you any favors. Your focus, if it's abusive, should be to get out and make sure you're safe. Or if you're unhappy in the relationship, maybe it could be helpful to understand why they're acting the way they are and how to handle it better, sure. But if they are unwilling to change, unwilling to work on themselves, then it's still not healthy to be with them. And honestly, I think it's a waste of time even asking that, not to go at anybody, but it's a waste of time asking that question if this person can't meet you halfway or at least like fucking 25% of the way, right? So that's my honest to God, like that's how I want to react to anybody asking me that. Because like I assume if you're asking me that, you're in a very unhappy relationship, that's not changing. But let's go into a little bit more detail. So I would say the first question are they self-aware? Do they know they're a narcissist? I think if they're self-aware, that's credit to stay with them, if I'm being real. I once heard a really good quote that a recovered narcissist can be more healthy than a person who has never been to therapy. That shows a willingness to change. It shows that they are going to be making progress, hopefully, that they're going to be making progress. And in fairness, although I do think that's a good sign to stay, again, abuse puts all this out the window. But although that makes it like a good prognosis for the relationship in general, it's really up to you to determine, am I willing to work through this? Because it will take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of time to go in remission. And you can help them with that or you cannot. If that's too much for you, that's completely fair. It's really up to you. There's nothing that I can do in terms of advice right there because it's like, where are your boundaries? What are you willing to put up with? What value do you see in this person? Are they worth all the shit and baggage they're going to bring with them? I can't answer that. And if they're not, I mean, what do you again, you're obviously unhappy if you're asking that question. If you're asking anybody if you should leave your partner, even if it's a narcissist or not, the answer is probably yes. I mean, let's be real. I have never asked somebody, should I leave my partner? I'm looking for validation that I should leave them. I'm not looking for an answer to the question itself. But even then, if somebody isn't self-aware, that might mean that they're still willing to work on themselves, right? And if that's the case, then again, it's the same answer. What are you willing to put up with? If they're willing to meet you halfway like that, if they're willing to work on themselves, then even if they aren't aware of their condition and stuff, I still think they can be a very healthy person in general. I mean, look at Cluster B Milkshake, self-aware narcissist, and she is more well-adjusted than I am, I'll say. And she's never been to therapy. Anyways, then so all of this comes down to your own personal preferences. What do you want? Is this person worth it? What are you willing to put up with? I can't answer those questions for you. I don't think anybody really can. I can't personally, but I'm sure your friends and family can help you work through your thoughts about it and determine for you whether it help you come to the conclusion of whether it's good for you or not. But I mean, other than that, what am I supposed to say? Again, I'm not trying to come at anybody with this, but I just think this highlights a big issue with pathological narcissism is that instead of learning about this disorder, helping people move on and heal, or like be able to help their relationships or understand their part, whatever your goals here are, too many people find like people who are being abused and they're like, oh, well, he's a narcissist. And it's like, oh, well, he can't change. He can't help it. And this just turns into an excuse for hurt people to stay in relationships that aren't working. If you had Like if I was unhappy in a relationship and somebody got cancer, my partner got cancer, and they had like a couple months left to live, maybe. Would I break up with them because I was unhappy in that? Of course not, because that feels cruel. And I feel like that's a lot of the feelings that people who are in these relationships and realizing that their partners might have this mental health condition, the conclusion they kind of come to. It's like this is a tragic disorder, one where they are not happy. And even a lot of the narcissistic abuse channels acknowledge that we are very much not happy people. We are miserable. Anybody who knows anything about narcissism knows we are not happy people. But that's no reason for you to stay in a relationship that's harmful for you. At the end of the day, it shouldn't even be a consideration, their personalities. I feel like a lot of people try to put themselves in, like they should be looking at the individual, not the disorder. Everybody with NPD is different. I see so many, I was once listening to this podcast and these people were like, hi, I'm a borderline and my partner is narcissistic. Like, is it possible for this to work? And I think they said something really wise there, which was, why put this in the box of narcissism and borderline? You guys are individuals. You guys should be able to determine for yourselves how to make this work. What are the issues in your relationship, whether they're caused by pathology or not? Is an issue in your relationship any different if it's caused by narcissism versus if it's caused by them just being an ass sometimes, right? Ultimately, it has the same effect on your relationship. And I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind. That's most of what I have to say on this. I mean, again, there's only so much I can do in terms of, I can help educate you on narcissism. I can tell you what we do, why we think, why we do the things that we do. I don't know about your situation though. I don't know enough about every narcissist in the world. Every single one of us is different. I can give you a little bit of advice here and there about maybe how not to piss them off or something like that, or how to make them feel understood, why they're acting the way that they do, or more accurately, why I would act in the way that they do. I have a lot of borderline traits too. Your people may have psychopathic traits. Me trying to relate to a narcissist with comorbid ASPD is like night and day. Just as sometimes me relating to a borderline with narcissistic traits is even hard to do. Because again, we're all different. The disorder is the least relevant thing. Regardless, that's basically all for today. Hope you all have a nice one. Take your fucking meds.